Story 1, Chapter C. The 7 Magical Adventures of Genii. The Quest for the Ancient Wisdom Map. The Brotherhood of Pau. Presented and narrated by Jim Jara, the storyteller, representing the guiding force of fantasy and magic, residing in Fairy Tale Palace Planet. Chapter C. Miniax City. They walked up to one of the huge columns, having an elevator on the outside and a staircase on the outside, winding up and around. And Genii Dionyx with the dwarfen started the long walk up to Miniax City. Morai laying on his floating bed, and Niama took the elevator. This gave Genii another chance and from another angle to look more inside this special place. At the port entrance area, strange individuals out and in the strangest transportation devices were still flying in and out. She looked at the Securions, hiding in many places, ready to capture any of the Collecterians when they would make a wrong move. She stared at Ertos, who was still busy signing papers and talking to individuals, and while getting higher, she looked outside in between the forest of pillars and viewed the snow-covered landscape, which was breathtaking. After some time while climbing up, Genii looked up and saw that there were falling nets under the entire city above, and figured out that this was a protection when somebody would fall down. Suddenly, Sarina came back from her travel, looking ahead in the mountains, what was going on there, and she took her seat on Genii's shoulder. Normally, Sarina would be at the height next to her ear. "What are you doing on my shoulder, Sarina?" "I'm a hawk, your personal hawk." Genii took Sarina from her shoulder and looked at the back of the robo-elf, where a small screen was located, but which had never worked up till that moment. Genii looked at a video Sarina had taken from the mountains, but most images were about dwarfens and gullots having a hawk on their shoulder. What is this all about, she was thinking. The dwarfen said, "Sarina is funny. She has connected to the image of the hawk sitting on their owner's shoulder, and these smart birds are used for the same purpose. They are sent ahead to check out for things ahead. Is this correct, Sarina?" "Of course, and all of them are my friends." Dionyx, always in for a joke, dressed Sarina up into a hawk outfit, and Sarina was so happy and flew around just like a hawk would do, with the only difference that here and there she flew into objects and made her eyes spin. "What is this all with these hawks?" asked Genii. "They have come to these mountains as they are not safe around areas where Collecterians live, who do not want anybody to spy on them, and they risk to be shot down," said the dwarfen. They all met again at the first level of Miniax City, and saw that there were many more levels. Looking at the different heights of columns and arches, there were many different settlements, and all together displaced look like a maze and labyrinth of wooden settlements, homes, shops, arch-wood-covered bridges, and wooden hanging bridges, all connecting these endless settlements. This city, with its many settlements, looked like a maze of gingerbread houses inside a fairy tale. As they walked into Miniax City, it felt busy like a beehive. There were many dwarfins and gullots, and many visitors seemingly doing their shopping here. Not to forget that everybody working in Portico was living here. It was a total different feeling than below, which was also busy, but felt much more quiet, even though it was a port. Genii noticed that the dwarfins and gullots here as well greeted with their hand gesture of putting the little finger and the thumb together. However, the average dwarfin and gullet permanently residing here looked either like a bodybuilder or was overweight. Genii also noticed that there were many Securions walking around, but she didn't see that they were hiding. Niama, picking up on her thoughts, explained her that Securions do not need to blend in on hide in the wood, and everything was made from wood. They do better with stone and especially marble, and in Portugal almost everything is made from marble and stone columns, of course. It was not just busy in the streets, but on top and behind every home and building. Are they reconstructing the city? Asked Genii. Unfortunately not, responded Morai. The seed of power, possession, greed and control is growing. Everybody is busy with expanding their homes to make more money on rentals or sales. Niama added, saying, it is sad to see this kind of economy because it also harms nature, as the wood they are used is causing deforestation elsewhere on the planet. Nature suffers because of the greed of man. They walked into a quieter suburb, restricted for expansion, and ended up at a small market square with a gingerbread-style hotel with 3 floors. As far as Genii could see, this was the highest building around. Most homes and shops had a ground floor and only 1 floor on top. Each detail of the wooden houses was very interesting to look at. The walls on the outside were like paintings of forests and was a mixture with sculptures who were part of the trees, and also many faces of underworld characters were to be seen everywhere. Many of these paintings were magically alive, and Genii especially liked the small forest animals moving on and in the walls. Each home was a story by itself. Inside the hotel, they got a big room assigned with inside different plateaus with semi-room dividers being each person's sleeping area. Genii felt protected and having the feeling of family around. The history of Miniox City. Sitting by one of the windows next to Niama, Niama explained Genii the story of Miniox City. Miniox City was founded by the Dwarfins and Gullots, individuals of few words, shortly after Portico the port was created. It was at the same time that the Collecterions, living in Darkania, the land of the giants, had been fighting their wars between each other concerning power and wealth. There are endless tribes of Collecterions, such as the space pirates, thieves, corrupted business owners, and corrupted politicians, all under the sway of power, control, and greed. Did they also try to invade Portugal? They had no chance to invade Portugal and Miniox City, because Portugal can activate the water walls around, a defense system holding the Collecterions out as they fear water. Also, the maze of streets below the plateaus can be flooded with water, so there is no way for the invaders to come in. And not to forget the Securion fleet outside the Red Planet, restricting questionable Collecterian ships to enter Portigo. All dwarfins and Gaulots left the cities in Darkania, and many found elsewhere a new home, but many couldn't find one for one reason or another. They saw an opportunity and started to build a city on top of the columns and arches of Portigo, which was meant to be a magical place of living in harmony, but the negative influence of the Collecterians had already infected even many Gaulots and Dwarfins. It didn't take too long that power and greed and control also was felt in the city, although not as extreme as in Darkania. The love with which the city was built and the love of the detailed work to make each business as a home so magical and beautiful kept somehow a balance. It also had been the birth of the Securion police force, who had been hired by the Dwarfins and Gaulots, as they themselves didn't carry or use any weapons. It was also understood that the Securions would not use any weapons other than their physical strength. Those Dwarfins and Gaulots, not infected yet with greed and control, had had no other choice than taking this decision. But at the same time, they had to live and deal with the Securions. Coming from the planet Securion, their reality was still based on control as well, as they were very robot-like and not able to think out of the box. Laws created by the inhabitants and all the interpretations and individuals representing those laws is not a system based on love, harmony, and consciousness. What do you mean with that, Grandma? When individuals and groups are not able to live with the natural laws of universal nature, man-made laws have to come in the game so people can live together. When man is not able to respect Kundu and the laws of the universal nature, he will have to respect man-made laws, which many do not follow either. So, we actually do not need a police force or army? Is that correct? Asked Chennai. Correct. For when we would see Kundu inside ourselves, inside everybody and everything, because without his energy nothing could live, we would behave differently. In addition, when we all would live according to the natural laws of nature, we would run into less struggle and less sickness. Think about it, Chennai. When we would live more with the seasons of the year and less interfering with nature, when each individual would really care and take care. Yes, there would not be the need for a police or army force, and there would be less sickness, less hospitals needed, answered Chennai. So, coming back to the Securians, this had been for that moment in time the only solution in order to keep the Collecterians' influence under control. This city had grown too fast, and although the sewage and water systems was done well, the recyclons had a hard time to keep the city clean during the night. The other factor that the inhabitants from other planets, realms and galaxies started their business had also been very hard, as every tribe has different values and priorities. Miniok City is in a way still a little safe from the Collecterians trying to move in from the outside, who can who can pay with life credits, but the seed of greed and destruction is growing from within the city, and it is just a matter of time before the negative side will dominate. You saw already the construction. What is going on, Chennai? Interesting, Niyama. Interesting, Niyama, but sad at the same time, said Chennai. A knock at the door made everybody stare at the door. Dionyx opened the door and a gullet lady, seemingly the massage therapist, entered and started to work gently on Morai laying in his bed. An evening walk. That evening Niyama and Chennai went on an evening tour when there was no construction going on. The world with reddish streetlights, looking like old-fashioned gas lights, the gingerbread homes and the small folk made it all real magical. There were beautiful decorated shops selling items connected to the earth energy, woolen clothing, incense, wooden art objects, and the dwarfins and gullets were especially famous for making and selling woolen rugs. Rug shops were everywhere. Chennai wanted to know more on the subject control. Niyama, who immediately picked up on her thoughts, asked Chennai to pay attention regarding some evidence of control in Minyak City. She noticed after some time a dwarfen walking around holding his wife, 4 children, cat and dog on a web of leashes, and a gullet standing with a big lock by the gate of his house, secured with a fence, Securions standing around, alarm systems and cameras everywhere, bars in front of the windows, and several dogs in the garden. They talked about the endless ways people tried to control others. They passed many small temples, minarets and churches, representing every nomination, and Niyama commenting that most of them not having their foundation and practice in spiritual matters anymore. It all had become about who had the biggest congregation and rituals and personalities that have taken the control. They had a sad talk about how people still fight in the name of God and Kandu and trying to justify their actions behind written scriptures, mostly not even written by the original teacher and their living example. Niyama explained Chennai that religions are man-made and that the real message of the original teacher mostly gets lost and interpreted by man to his convenience and mostly for the wrong reasons. They sat down on a bench and Chennai searched the web on her mini bracelet computer for more information what people throughout history had done in the name of God and religion, and it was devastating. Niyama was talking to some folks passing by and Chennai wanted to talk to Serena, and after she spoke her name and was on her shoulder, she realized that the reflective communication program was not working anymore. Serena in her new program was eager to do something for Chennai, who sent her to explore Minyak City. It was some minutes later when Serena came back with just pictures of toy shops. After thanking Serena, Chennai realized that she had to be more specific, asking Serena where she needed to look out for and what information she wanted to get. After some time, they continued walking and Niyama started talking, saying, Minyak City is more a modern world in an old-fashioned environment, with all the problems that go with the modern infected mindset of the Collecterians. It was about wanting more and more, which you could see looking through the windows of many stores and homes. Everything was packed, the homes overloaded with furniture, collector items of any kind, and most shops packed with every sales item they could possibly sell. The stores that sold quality and one particular item in the past had become stores that sold almost everything. It was the power of competition amongst the shop owners who wanted to have the money of the buyer all for themselves. There were also endless restaurants and street vendors. It seemed to be all about food, and everybody had either something to eat in their hands or mouth. Shania noticed the food distortion in particular, as she had been overdoing it herself. Why is it that people just want to eat, Niyama? When people lose their spiritual connection with Kandu, and as well the connection to nature and of their planet, they got confronted with a feeling of being uprooted, unstable, and not feeling grounded. Or in other words, they feel empty. And as a reaction, they seem to want to fill up, because they are unfulfilled. An overweight and heavy body seems to create a sense of being grounded and secure. Are there no other ways to feel grounded, Niyama? They stopped walking for a moment and sat down on a table of a small cafe and ordered some juices. When the juices arrived, Niyama continued, saying, although we know that Crystallia is not our real home, we need the feeling being connected to this world, and especially our body, which is made from earth substances. For when we are not, we can do harm to it, even without knowing, and also not detecting the messages that slowly could become disease. This is the better way of feeling connected and grounded. We also need a sense of being connected to other people and to nature, otherwise we think, say, and do things that would harm them. So, what can we help? At home, at the moment, we can bring in the elements that ground us, so we can work more efficient and be under more healthy circumstances. Grandma, what do you mean with the elements? Now, there is food that can bring us that grounding feeling. Foods coming from the realm of Earthos. Foods that come from below the soil. And not us just stuffing ourselves with heavy and unhealthy meals. Too easily we could gain weight that could bring an artificial way of trying to feel grounded, but is actually an expression of the opposite, not being in the body and not being grounded. We can wear certain clothes and colors and having comfortable homes and business settings created with the right elements such as wood, stones, marble, woolen rugs and drapery that will give that grounding feeling. And last but not least, we can work with and in the soil by gardening or going and getting connected to nature. Hold on for a minute, Shania said, who started to add in her computer some more information to Earthos and the Sacred Wisdom Map. Then Niyama continued talking. The favorite sport in Minyak City amongst the male Goliaths and dwarfins is showing off one's powerful earth bodies. And there are many fighting centers where it is all about destroying the opponent. There are ways to exercise that give you that grounding feeling. Exercise modalities you can explore here in the realm of Earthos. And this being grounded doesn't need to be an enormous body with huge muscles. Some individuals are just naturally strong-built, but mostly by those who want to become big, it boils down to eating and mostly overeating again. The children follow the example of the parents and get this inheritance of eating either because being unfulfilled and becoming obese, or the others are eating to become big and strong, which doesn't mean that they are healthy. It is sad to see this happening. What is Ertos doing about this? Urtus, being the governor, who is very aware of the many problems of a modern city, didn't want to get extreme regarding the control issues, and he had agreed that signs were to be posted at shops and other public service places stating the danger for health and especially children. Unfortunately, after the signs were placed, the shop owners and a team of businessmen started to place other signs underneath. Just look at these signs when you have not noticed them yet, Chennai. They stood up from the table after having paid with life credits and continued their evening walk. Suddenly, everything started to tremble and Chennai felt like being on the ocean in a boat. She grabbed onto Niyama as squeaking noises came from everywhere. Don't worry, Chennai. It is a light earthquake. Earthquake? But that is dangerous. What do we do? Just wait till it is over. After some minutes, it became quiet again. Where did these scary squeaking noises came from? There are more and more earthquakes, but Portugal and even the columns are built to withstand this trembling. And it is also that Urtus allowed the Galots and Dwarfans to build Minyak city with wood. And it was the squeaking noises that came from all the wooden structures adjusting to the shaking. Has something bad happened here yet? Not here, but in other parts of the inner planet. However, something could soon happen when the greedy Dwarfans and Galots do not stop overbuilding this place. Something will have to give, and it is mostly nature that wins. Niyama reminded Chennai to look for signs, which took Chennai's mind off the subject. Looking for the signs. It felt more like a treasure hunt for Chennai than seeing all the bad things man was doing to himself, others, and the world. Chennai read a sign on a liquor store. It is already hard enough to keep a clear mind without liquor, and realize that the addiction to it will control you and your life. Underneath, the sign read, "There is nothing wrong with a glass of alcohol. You need to have some pleasure in your life." Chennai asked Niyama, what is it what people could do when they have a drinking problem? One of the things they could do is to find someone who is on the road to recover. And some of them will invite you to an Alcoholic Anonymous meeting. And what happens in these meetings? That is an experience for the one wanting to quit drinking. But how does someone find the person who is already in this group? When someone really wants to quit, help comes in many forms and from many directions. At a restaurant, she read the sign, "All you can eat," with the other signs underneath. Be careful to enter places that are not concerned with your health. Food can become easily an addiction, especially when you are unfulfilled and try to fill up your emptiness. The sign underneath read, "This is your chance to not feel any restrictions that others put onto you. Just eat your heart out." Why is there so much offered regarding food? Is it only about filling up? There are many reasons, but we must understand that the mouth is one of the best trained sense organs. We start on the mother's breast, and oftentimes rewards and disappointments are connected to putting something in our mouth. It is not an easy sense organ to control, but where there is a will, there will be a way. We have also lost to live with the natural rhythms of life, and many individuals eat and snack all the time, plus life has become 24 hours a day. We do not have only many that are addictions to food, but also to work and are called workaholics. A big sign read, "The Magical Sugar Shop." "What is that shop?" asked Shania. "The sugar shop is a shop that carries everything made with sugar, and the only magic is bad magic, because it makes children and adults hyper, weak and addictive. Just read the sign." Sugar is a drug you get addicted to from a very early age. We all have to make a small study how we all get addicted and tricked and controlled by sugar, and in which products the manufacturers add this white drug. Said Niyama while Janai read the sign underneath. "Life is hard and bitter, and to create a balance, you need to eat sweets." Janai states that it is bad from the manufacturers to addict the children to sugar and sugar-related products, and Niyama commented that it is the weakness of the parents. There are many dangers the parents need to protect their children from, and one of them is the drug sugar. As long as we keep buying, the manufacturers keep making money and producing. At a restaurant sign she read, "Raw food is real food, the rest is entertainment." This was Niyama's favorite sign, as she was a believer that raw food is the real energy for the body. The sign underneath read, "Life is not worth living when you cannot eat and drink what you want." It is not easy to stop the addicted pattern of living to eat and to replace it with eating to live, stated Niyama, continuing saying, "We are addicted to so many things, but once you are aware of it, you can go the path of the hero and finding more constructive ways to live life." They passed at that moment some homes and looked inside, seeing everybody sitting lazy in front of the TV and snacking, of course. It is unfortunately that most people live their lives through others by watching their heroes, the movie heroes, the actors, the athletes and other idols. They do not live out the hero in their own life, but live more as victims of life. You and I need to pick up on that path again, for I know you do not like to live in ignorance, nor do you want to fall into the role of a victim of life and circumstances. I will help you as much as I can. Thank you, Grandma. Saving for the future. They kept walking over bridges, walking from one settlement to the next, and Janai noticed a building with a big sign, "Save for your future." Is that a bank, Grandma? It's a kind of bank, but you know that money and trading goods is forbidden, for it is the only way to keep the collectarians out of the power game. So what is this then all about? With your life credits, you can get loans, mortgages and insurances to insure your future in this place. I suspect that the collectarians are behind this, and even though they cannot own anything, here they have made deals with weak and greedy goliaths and dwarfins. But it is definitely undermining the life credit system, which is based on doing good deeds. I suspect that the collectarians play their games by owning these goliaths and dwarfins. But when they cannot own anything, what is the point? They may officially not own anything, but they are slowly taking control because they still have the power over the goliaths and dwarfins. On your planet, various similar things are happening, and although these individuals and groups are not called collectarians, they are of the same kind. But what is wrong with loans, mortgages and insurances? Nothing, as long as it is not based on fear, and this is unfortunately mostly the case. People think that they need to have more money, a bigger home, a car, and that this will bring happiness, but they forget that they have to work more to pay off the loans. Individuals, because of their lifestyle, become weaker and sicker and see that they need to do something to be safe for the future. But instead of taking care of their health and well-being right now, they stress themselves out paying for these loans and insurances, having to work harder and losing their health and well-being even more. They live for the future and forget to live in the moment, which is about fear. But is it not good to own your own house and having something in the future to rely on? It is all great. But when it's based on fear and taking away from your life in the moment, just working for material things, and taking your health and family life away, I think it is not good. We have an obligation to take care of ourselves, and only then can we be of real help to others. This would be a healthy tribe with healthy individuals helping each other. These modern systems are fear-based, egocentric, and they actually do not work. How so, Grandma? Look what happened some years ago on the planet Earth. They came to the conclusion that none of the systems that were created had any security. Banks went bankrupt as a result of incorrect investments. The school system couldn't keep up their promise that one gets a job being educated. Pension funds, the stock market, and real estate went down. And the healthcare systems were corrupt and didn't work as they were based on making money on sick people, which indicates the wrong approach. How should it then be? Asked Shania. It should be a system based on rewards by keeping people healthy. Last but not least, family and relationship values had the wrong foundation, just as religion lost its real essence. A good pension plan is to stay healthy and fit, and overstressing oneself will not help at all. Getting older indicates to slowly needing less, to be able to help others and to enjoy the simple things of life. I think the time has come again that people need to create a community support system where everybody helps each other. It became late, and on their way back Shania screamed, seeing very small cockroach looking like characters between 1 and 2 feet tall appearing from inside the big recycling garbage units. Ease up, Shania. That are the recyclons. The garbage units here and in Portugal and in most places in the Red Planet are connected to underground tunnels, to the underground tunnels of Cyclondor. When Shania got out of her shock, her eyes functioned as binoculars, and she could see the details of these creatures. They walked up straight, with their smiling faces, and their wings looked like a rope wrapped around them. But as soon as any of them saw waste and garbage, the wings opened, and she saw that they were carrying buckets and brooms underneath. After they collected some waste, they would change position and go back to the recycling unit on all fours. They are incredible cleaners and never complain. They sort out the different wastes, and in Cyclondor they recycle whatever they can, and the rest of the waste goes into a special plant that makes usable energy for the inhabitants. In half an hour, they have the entire city clean. Amazing, commented Shania. Remember seeing the gases spitting on the outside of the planet before we entered? Yes, Grandma. They are the exhaust pipes coming from Cyclondor, but the gases are not toxic for the universe. The recyclons really make sure of this. There are some toxic gases coming from Darkania, where the Collecterians live, polluting not only their area, but affecting the entire inner climate of Ertos planet. Returning to the hotel, Shania has a lot to share with Morai and Dionyx, but as soon as the excitement settled down, she became very tired and went to sleep. Body decoding with Toro. The next day in the morning, talking about the subject obesity and being overweight, Toro was invited, and he showed up again on his eagle out of the shadow world. After breakfast, Toro gave Shania a special program chip that fitted her bracelet computer and said, "Look, Shania, push with your fingers on one of these images or words to get more information, or press on the picture and more will show up." Shania made the projecting screen image bigger in size so everybody could see her gift. She pressed on the overweight character and a gentle voice spoke, "By collecting too much waste, the structure of your physical body, which is your skeleton, will have to give you messages before the structure starts breaking down because of the excess weight." "Why did I gain weight again, Toro?" "For sure, you felt empty and bitter when your father died, and to fill up an emptiness, food and especially sugar-related foods came into the play. You lost a part of your family foundation and compensated with food, but now it's time to learn other ways to ground yourself, which you are learning that it can be done with the elements you can find here in Earth's realm. Try to remember the smells, food, colors, fabrics, and you will see more." When Shania saw an image expressing back pain, her mind changed from the weight subject. Shania pressed on the skeleton, and to her big surprise she saw an image of her mother, and immediately she touched the image. Then the voice spoke. "Sometimes when people lose their home, job, or loved ones, the feelings of insecurity, abandonment, or disconnection sneaks in. It is like losing the connection to Mother Earth and the adventure in creation. It's losing a part of one's foundation to be in this world. It happens even to people who understand that life in creation is just a momentary adventure. Attachments and associations have these effects." Shania was so happy to hear that tears started running down her face. She knew that nothing really bad was going on with her mama, and that it had to do with her attachment to the physical embodiment of her father. This was just a matter of time, she thought. With this information, which I will share with her, and the information about the treatments for Morai, I may help her faster going through the process. Niama had taken place next to Shania and held an arm around her. There are endless ways to assist any imbalance, which is an adventure on its own of experiencing trial and error without any expectation. But is there any guarantee? As long as we have expectations, we set ourselves up for disappointments. People in the healthcare field often speak in absolutes, and many false promises are made with offering treatments. When all the promises given would be true, there would be no suffering anymore. So how do you go about going for assistance when something is not right with your body? First, accept the message. Claim full responsibility, otherwise you end up in the victim business. Try to decode the message and get an action plan to address the imbalance from multiple angles. But there is still no guarantee. No, because we don't know what really sits behind the screen. Maybe the person needs to learn something or just go through the experience. So I always say, do everything what you can, but when in the book of life is written that the time of the imbalance is over, it will be over. When it is written that the imbalance stays, accept and start dealing with it differently. Maybe it is something for the evolvement of the soul within us we need to go through. And this connects to the next subject. There is no need to make healthcare practitioners and any method for that fact into gods. I think I understand, but what can we do for Morai? And what can I do when I get back to my mom? Shania looked around and listened. The color red, brown, gray, and black The music which we are hearing at this very moment, the powers of the crystals and the beautiful scents are all contributing to the self-healing adventure of Morai. Just being in this surrounding helps a lot. Just like being on a beach or a forest, nature, with its feelings, colors and other factors, not only give us a different experience, but they also assist in the healing. That's it. That's it? No, these are the little things we can do ourselves, but there are endless other methods and healthcare practitioners that can assist, and that's why we are here at Ertos Planet. This adventure is for Morai, said Niyama, and a special gift for you, Janai, who is permitted to gather all this information. So when you are older, you can share this with the people on Earth. Janai was invited by Toro to explore Miniok City and to get to know more about body reading. Walking around with Toro and learning more about body decoding or body reading, he explained that the body is an open book showing our history of our life, because it came with birth to tell us its strengths and challenges, and then it formed itself through everything we went through, and thus manifesting new strengths and challenges. Bodies form themselves according to their inheritance in connection with all the foods eaten, all the actions and thoughts. Toro at one point gave Shania a pair of decoding glasses that helped in the training of body reading. Put your decoding glasses on and let's translate some body shapes. When Janai had the glasses on, the entire view she had on people changed instantly. Basically, the entire city changed. It looked more a city full of cripples, and it reminded her immediately about people in her world. The resemblance was too good to be true. Funny enough, all the individuals she was looking at in the city received nicknames. The glasses also spoke in a light voice, expressing their condition, such as Desera Desert, referring to a woman which was completely dehydrated and stiff. Brickman, somebody being square and always using tough language. Numberman, also square and with numbers in his eyes, who was very calculated. Hannah Hamster, an individual looking like a hamster with blown-up cheeks. Then there were others looking overweight like Miss Waistbands and Big Flabby. Then there was Flatfoot and Flapfoot, the wrestler, holding his chest and arms rounded forward, similar to the Clinger and the Puncher, holding his fist and always ready to fight. Mrs. Tippy-Toe was fun to look at, and Hunchy, carrying the past on his back. Miss Bottle, bottled up inside. Mr. Duck, with his feet outward and waggling all over the place. And Toma Tomorrow, with his nose and neck forward. And Noza, also with her nose forward and possibly sticking her nose in other people's businesses. Shania took the glasses off and said, "This all looks scary." It is scary what people do to themselves, isn't it? Switch your glasses into another decoding program, Shania. Shania looked at the side of the glasses, and it looked like a digital clock, but it had different names. She pressed Complaints and put the glasses on again. This time she had a great time observing the many characters such as Tight Butt, Mr. Square, Miss Bitter, the Mumbler, and Hank Pants with his pelvis tilted forward and part of the drag team, all showing the loss of courage, and Cager, the introvert, and not to forget Curtain Face, hiding behind his hair, not wanting to face anything. The loud teams were funny in a way, being loud individuals playing loud music and coughing loud, seeking to be heard and recognized, basically drawing attention. Shania was hearing everybody as the glasses were voicing even the thoughts of the individuals she was observing. They complained about the weather, the politics, each other, the financial situations, and anything you can complain about. Toro said, most individuals are addicted to complaining. But why doesn't anybody take responsibility? Then they have nothing to complain about anymore. Most individuals love to be victims and pointing at others, which disempowers oneself. Can I learn this without these glasses? Yes, but you have to watch not to judge people. However, more important for you is to learn to decode signs, symptoms, and diseases. It didn't take too long before a big crowd had gathered around Toro again, who gave a seminar regarding the claiming of messages of imbalance. He started his workshop by saying, everybody is usually quite stunned when messages expressing imbalance show up. You react as if an alien being has invaded your lives and body. Individuals use the phrase, I have this or that condition, far too much when dealing with signs, symptoms, and diseases, as if we got them from someone else. So it is not so much that I am having a heart attack, but understand that I am attacking my heart. I am suffering from a heart disease, but rather I am a disease to my heart. Not that I had a bypass, but rather I am bypassing my heart. Not so much I have a pain in the neck as I am a pain in the neck. Not that I have cancer, but that I am consuming my life, or I am eating myself away, or I am giving up my responsibilities towards vitality and health. Depending on where the disease is taking over, you could say, I am taking my own breath away, referring to lung imbalances. I am taking away my foundation of my body, referring to bone problems. I am letting my old anger eat me away, referring to liver and gall imbalances. I am consuming myself through bitterness, referring to pancreatic problems. And is it not that any disease gets your attention at our weakest spot or area? Anyone who has attended an AE, Alcoholic Anonymous meeting, knows that when people use the phrase, I am an alcoholic, that they are claiming responsibility for their condition, and thereby empowering themselves to turn things around. It is not, I have a sickness, but I am the sickness. Hopefully, you will not stay in the future confronted with an earache. I have an earache, but what is it what I don't want to hear? Or to what am I listening too much to? This is going away from thinking based on fear, but understanding the message. The crowd dispersed and Janai was taken by all the information, and without paying too much attention after they started walking again, she passed a group of collectarians and one bumping into her. She went inside in one of her pockets of her red long robe and couldn't find her power star. She turned around and screamed, "Hold the thieves!" Within no time there were Securions running in from every direction. One of them was suddenly standing in front of Janai and taking her in his strong arms. "You, just stay here. We can handle the job." Securions running like speed robots after the collectarians over the small streets and hanging bridges. Securions had communication through their headphone sets, and Janai saw one of the collectarians running against one of the Securions that had come from another direction. It looked as if the collectarian ran into a brick wall, as the Securion didn't even move when the collectarian ran against him. The collectarian fell sideways over the many railings and ended up in one of the safety nets hanging underneath the city. Within minutes, the group of collectarians was arrested and escorted away. One Securion came to bring Janai's power star back. "Thank you guys, no problem at all." As the group passed by, Genai observed the characters captured, on which it was very obvious that they represented the negative side of the earth energy. One of them was really showing his insecurity as his entire body was caved in, his head was hanging, and he was dragging his feet. Two other ones were constantly pushing and hitting each other and definitely playing and misusing the power and strength. She understood the symbolic meaning of the claw-like hands and feet of the Collecterians and explained what she had seen to Toro. Genai, did you notice that they were not even that you were not even wearing your decoding glasses? And how could you see the body covered with a long rope? I saw how the fabric of his rope fell, and that gave me the form of the body. Great, Genai, you are a fast learner. But what about the strange tail of the Collecterians? Asked Genai. The tailbone inside the body of the Collecterians has grown into a tail, or a fifth limb, so to speak. They want to hold on and grab onto anything of this world. The hook at the end expresses that they are hooked onto many things and are constantly fishing for more. Everything is like bait. We all have to watch out for not to become like a Collecterian who wants to collect and hold on to everything. Returning at the hotel, Morai was undergoing some treatments for his back and Dionyx was busy, dressing himself up endlessly, stating he was busy with a new fashion line and upcoming fashion show. After telling her story about all that happened, she went to bed, and Toro asked if he should be showing up for the next day. Genai said, of course. The next day, walking around again with Niyama, she gets also exposed to all the beggars and doesn't know what to do, as many of them are lazy individuals. When she encounters a real poor man but is still unsure what to do, she comes up with the idea to take the person for a luncheon, and she receives life credits. Niyama commented, "It is not easy to see so many beggars, and I know what you were thinking, Genai. To whom shall I give something? When you let your intuition guide you, as you just did, you will do the right thing." At one point, they saw Toro on one of the many market squares, who at that moment was loosening his body with some stretch positions and was doing some acrobatic movements. Did you see all the collecting and holding onto in the city, Genai? Yes, Toro. And for sure you have something to comment on it. Did you know that many diseases are a result of us collecting too much waste? Waste that needs to be cleaned out? The body is like a recycling machine, but when hard to digest materials and heavy thoughts collect, and the body is too weak or is not assisted in the cleaning, the body shows messages of imbalance. In general, most inhabitants of the universe collect and hold on to too much and do not assist in the cleaning, although nature always assists in many ways. Again, in no time, lots of individuals gathered around and the private conversation ended up into a public one. Toro spoke saying, "Let's visualize our body as a bucket, which we unfortunately fill up with physical waste and negative thoughts." Genai heard a heavy sound, and out of nowhere a man-sized glass bucket was standing next to Toro, who continued speaking. "There are many ways in which we fill the bucket, and we know that the entire body has been affected, but that it only comes out at the weakest spot or on the spot that will hopefully give us the message. See how the bucket fills itself with too much and unhealthy foods, pollution, emotion, stress, too much possessions, and too many obligations." While Toro was talking, all the examples he was using became visual, and these images made it even more clear. At one point in time, the bucket flowed over with some liquid, and the liquid changed into bodies. And when touching the ground, these characters walked away in all directions. Each of these images had a disease, or one could see where the pain was coming out. One was holding his back, another was on crutches, another was sitting in a wheelchair, and another had a skin rash, another being overweight, and many more. As they walked away further from the bucket, they disappeared into the nothingness. When we get sick, in addition to consulting our healthcare practitioner, there are endless ways to clean out the bucket. And there are endless ways to keep the bucket from filling again. These are the things we should be busy with on a daily basis, not when it's too late. You mean taking a laxative? Asked one of the listeners. No, I mean assisting the cleaning of the body in a natural way. How then? We could go on a short fast of juices, and definitely we need to stop putting in the bad things. So I suggest eating fresh foods as much as possible. And then there are endless ways to assist the body in its cleaning. Each organ can be cleaned, and there are endless ways to do this. Just make a study of it. Plus, we can clean the house, your room, the closets, because anything what we don't use on a regular basis is waste. Everybody heard the sound again, and gone was the bucket. Toro thanked everybody, and everybody went their way. Talking more about the collectarians. Back at the hotel, talking with Niyama, Shania asked, "You have explained the purpose and function of the Securions, and I have seen with my own eyes them catching the collectarians in the act. But it also has happened twice that they were not in time." They all talked about the fact that the collectarians are getting smarter by tricking the Securions by pretending various burglaries at the same time in the city and succeeding elsewhere, as there are just a limited number of Securions. They all see this as something dangerous, as the collectarians are getting better organized and starting to plan better. Why are the collectarians not smart in a different way by changing their appearance? I had in mind to tell you more about the collectarians who are in a bad shape health-wise. They have a lifestyle that is very abusive, and with the help of modern medicine and plastic surgery, they can keep up. But I wouldn't want to look under their long black robes. What do you mean? Toro jumping in, he says, I think we would face a very unhealthy body, with some organs or pieces missing and other organs and parts of the body replaced with organs of others. Some parts may even be totally artificial and mechanical. Their lifestyle is robotic and unconscious, and as a reaction, their body as well. The long robes they wear cover all of it, and the only other way to change is the color or the fabric and style, but they are restricted. In order for collectarians to recognize each other, their law says that they have to wear these long black robes. To wear face covers is not allowed as well, but they are allowed tattoos and piercings. Did you see their faces, Shania? Asked Niyama. Yes, and they didn't look healthy, but what about all the piercings and tattoos? This is part of their body and their hands. This part of their body and hands are the last parts they can be busy with, and which is the major fashion amongst the collectarians. Plastic surgery, piercings and tattoos. For the woman, nail fashion and of course wearing jewelry. After some more talks on the subject, Toro said that he had to leave. He stepped outside and said, "See you." Then he started to run again, made some cartwheels and backflips, bounced off the ground, clapped in his hands, and there was his eagle coming out of the shadow world, and Toro landed smoothly on top, and both disappeared in the Shadow World. The following days were packed with treatments for Morai, and Janai, at times with Diama or with Dionyx, kept exploring Miniok City and using her decoding glasses and training herself, also without them.